Hello! Welcome to everyone to the first episode of the Canary podcast. My name is Ingrid Weiss. I have been working as a test specialist at IBM for over 7 years now, and I've also been doing neurodiversity advocacy at the company for just about as long. And I am here with my mom, Pamela Weiss. You can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, I'm Pamela Weiss, and I work with the Orleans Law Group. I've been there for almost 7 years, and about 3 years ago, I brought a neurodiversity employment initiative to our law practice, and we've had a lot of success in onboarding and working with neurodiverse staff.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why we wanted to start this podcast among so many of the other ones that exist is our own unique perspectives on helping various neurodiverse people find employment and help people manage neurodiverse employees, because the employment rates are really not good compared to the general population. It's hard to pinpoint precise numbers on how many, because a lot of the studies that exist out there kind of have more of a bias towards particular populations, like those who are like explicitly on disability benefits, or there might be discrepancies between what they're measuring, like what sort of employment they have and to what degree. But from what I can tell, the stats are anywhere from 40% to 85%, which the main takeaway we have there is that it's still significantly higher than the general population, and that is a problem. And it matters a lot more in the hiring environment nowadays than it might have previously, because 80% of Gen Z report being less likely to work for a company that lacks support for health issues and neurodiversity, according to Facilitate magazine. And understanding the values of the new employees coming into the workforce in increasing numbers is very important for moving forward in the current culture of business.
I think that's a great trend, Ingrid, that people are both more accepting, I think, of diversity in employees and wanting to have a good work-life balance. I know is important for the younger generations, and part of that is everyone feeling comfortable in the workplace. My focus and my motivation to be part of this podcast is I've, of course, been a parent raising a neurodiverse child, but then now I'm a manager of neurodiverse staff. And what I find is that organizations tend to connect managers to job candidates, or the social workers that are in the nonprofit organizations that do mentoring for neurodiverse staff. But there really isn't a good community around people that actually manage employees that may be on the autism spectrum or have other types of neurodiversity. And we need the opportunity to talk about employment from the standpoint of managing operations and business, rather than from that sort of nonprofits and social worker perspective. Managers are nervous about trying new things. We don't always know all the answers, and we could use support and talking about what has worked for people and what hasn't worked. Sometimes we see out on social media where people may have not understand why employers haven't been necessarily always successful in starting to bring in neurodiverse staff and bring them up in the organization. And rather than criticizing companies, we want to be in the position to give each other grace and help each other out as we try new things, and hopefully have good answers to how to make everybody, both employees and employers, comfortable and successful with neurodiverse staff.
So we have a number of objectives that we want to handle on this podcast. First and foremost, to encourage various organizations to hire neurodiverse people for highly skilled professional positions to fill the general gap that has been noted previously, but also to be able to bring those unique perspectives that have often been neglected in the professional world to its own detriment in a lot of places.
Couldn't agree more, Ingrid. I've seen too many cases where companies have just brought in neurodiverse staff for unskilled positions, and we have not neglected the fact that there is a wide range of abilities in this population, and that many people have college education now, even graduate degrees, and they want to have positions that meet their skill sets, and they want to advance in organizations. So a second objective of the podcast is really about creating a networking community for people who manage neurodiverse people in the workforce and skilled positions. So we have a community to mentor each other. And third, we want to provide a forum for problem solving, ways to handle workplace challenges for neurodiverse people and their managers. How can we accommodate you successfully and just problem solve together, having the perspectives here, Ingrid as an employee, me as a manager, and hopefully lots of guests that will provide different points of view.
And to help along with that, tangibly showcase a lot of the good and contributions that neurodiverse people have practically provided in the workplace. Not to toot my own horn a little bit, but in my last yearly review, I was touted as not just being one of the best employees in my division at my office, but across the entire office. And we just want to be able to show that there are already success stories that exist, and if you take the right chance on people, that could be you.
Absolutely. I will be happy to share some success stories at my own organization with the Orleans Law Group, and happy to share guest stories as well.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, I'm sure you're wondering why exactly we chose the name of the Canary for this podcast. Well, aside from us both being big fans of birds, I'm sure nearly everyone has heard of the analogy of the canary in the coal mine, the thing that miners take in to sort of be able to assess the environment and if it's safe or not to be able to do stuff in there. It can often be really easy to notice the place where neurodiverse employees tend to be a little bit more sensitive to the work environment, and it's kind of easy to then make the generalization that it's a them problem. But there are cases where there have been demonstrably ineffective or negative trends in the workplace that disproportionately affected neurodiverse populations, where if that had been noticed sooner, we might have gotten a better change in professional culture faster. Remember the open office trend from a few years ago that people figured out sucked a lot? People who are a lot more sensitive to the environment could point that out a lot sooner, and if they got listened to, then we could have had a far more effective workforce a lot sooner. It's a thing that's known as the curb cut effect, where when they had ramps introduced into various sidewalks to help people with wheelchairs get around, it also helped people who are carrying around carts and heavy luggage. The idea that it's not necessarily like something extra, but it's more that they're likely to notice a problem first that's going to affect the rest of your employees.
So, Ingrid, this reminds me of the funny story back during the beginnings of the COVID epidemic, when all of a sudden lots of people were starting to work remotely. You had always been a fan of remote work and the ability to be able to really focus at home and not have like overstimulation of activity going on around you. And I
Yeah,
just remember
like,
you saying, "Welcome to my world."
yep, I cannot recall the number of times where I've just been trying to like get a break in like the work break room, but somebody decided to microwave something really stinky and I just kind of had to flee for dear life. And now when I'm at my home office, I can control the environment a whole lot better, which means I'm devoting less brain power to just surviving in the environment and I can put more brain power towards doing actually productive work. So yeah, the work from home trend is one that's benefited pretty much everybody, but has disproportionately benefited neurodiverse employees.
Exactly. And I feel like you've brought some attention to the fact that sometimes people like you tend to see certain details that someone like me might miss. And so we all bring value from the various things we bring to the table. And that's something that I've always appreciated about my neurodiverse staff. So I'd like to touch on the fact that we don't want to just podcast ourselves, but we're looking for the right guests to host and join us in lively discussion. We're looking for neurodiverse employees that have great successful stories to tell about things they've accomplished in the professional workplace. And we also would like to managers to come and talk about scenarios that they have in the workplace and have some honest discussion. And I think, again, honest discussion is all about recognizing we don't have all the answers yet. But if we don't start trying things, we'll never get to better solutions if we're all afraid to talk about it honestly and give each other some grace while we do.
Because I think the biggest thing I've found in my experience is not for people to get it right, but for perfectly on the first try, but to let me know they're actively listening and trying to be better. Just, I guess that's my free tip is that being honest and transparent with communications about processes is one improvement you can try and do that will obviously benefit everyone that's working, but will especially benefit your neurodiverse employees who are a lot likely to get with the program if they can understand the logic behind it. Even if that logic is just, this is something we just kind of have to put up with because it's on a legacy system that can't easily be changed without investing millions of dollars into it. Like, if I understand why something works the way it does, I'll probably be on board with it a whole lot faster.
I have noticed that, Ingrid. I can think of somebody who always needs really specific explanations of things. And unless they get that, they might get a little hung up before they can move on to executing on it. And so I do try to step back now and take more time on the explanation side of things, understanding that that really benefits, that helps my employee.
Mm-hmm.
So
And with my work, I've been in learning a test environment manager role for the past year, and I found that my need to kind of understand the nuts and bolts of why the process works makes me better at explaining to like the various apps that work within the test environment why we do what we do. It's like we're not arbitrarily trying to gate your progress. We're trying to make sure that everyone plays nice in the neighborhood so that everyone can have as smooth of an experience as possible.
well, I'm excited to see where we can go with this podcast, Ingrid. And I think you and I are in a unique position to carry it out.
Mm-hmm. Here's looking forward to a lot more episodes in the future. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to us, and we hope to see you again in the future.